January 29, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is what the chart looked like today. There was no real economic data that came out today, but tomorrow, pretty much for the rest of the week, there's probably going to be some volatility because the FOMC meeting is starting tomorrow, and then the actual decision on whether or not there's going to be a rate hike will occur on Wednesday. And Jerome Powell will also come out, provide some color, which usually causes the market to kind of whipsaw quite a bit. On top of that, there's a lot of earnings this week of a lot of big companies, which could or could not, affect the market. So this is how I saw the charts today. It was kind of this big range, and then toward the last hour, well, an hour and 10 minutes, it looked like it initiated a big rally. So let's see, right here. It's kind of interesting because if you draw a kind of a big box to see, this is like the last hour. This is all the price action in 1 hour. And then from here all the way back, this is the last 5.5 hours. So it was a very slow day. There was not a lot of volume today. I only took one trade today, but it was a bad trade, and as a result, I did get burned. And even with the one trade, I didn't see too many setups. I only saw maybe 2 potential setups. I'm going to get through it right now. Shouldn't take too long. So on the market open. So in the pre-market, it's already very slow. There's all the candles that printed in the pre-market. It opens, I thought it might be in a range, so I was watching carefully for any kind of possible resistance at this possible line. It opens, it kind of bounces around, creates a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but here there was nothing to tell you to get ready for a trade. At this point, it looks like it's going to be range bound from the top of the pre-market to the lows of the pre-market. That's what I drew, and I thought it was going to stay within this tiny range, but it broke out. I figured it's actually kind of maybe a 2-tier range, so I actually drew it like this. Here's the top and here's the bottom, and it's kind of midline, which was kind of being respected. You do have another high. You do have another second entry long here, new high. So first entry long, second entry long. Again, this is too congested. This doesn't tell you to get ready to get a trade started. Bounces around, it kind of breaks out. It looks like it's a fail breakout here. Comes back in. There's like a bunch of, kind of a second entry, but it's not very clean here. Breaks out to the bottom side, flashes around, creates one leg down, pull up. So it made 2 pushes up, and then it made another new low here. I thought I saw some kind of support here. That could have been something to play off of, but I needed more confirmation. Technically, you have a new high here. It's a first entry long, pullback, second entry long, and technically you have a failure. So what I did see here was I reset the count here. So this is a new high because I actually saw it from here. It's a first entry long, pullback, second entry long. Count resets. Count this is a new high. First entry long, pullback. Here creates a second entry long. Now it's a bounce off this potential support, which may be a bigger range from this blue to this top of this blue, but it was a little ambiguous because I noticed, you could have maybe extended the line down to here, have it touch, 1 touch, 2 touch, or have it touch here at the bodies, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, but it wasn't super clear, so I didn't trust it a little bit. But it's a good signal bar here, and it did make 2 measured legs down. 1 leg down, pull back, second leg down, bounce off of here. But with all that, I wasn't sure, and I wanted a higher low. So here, I convinced myself without this completing that there's a higher low finishing right here. So it's a first entry long, second entry long, higher low, but I didn't wait for this good confirmation. As soon as this candle printed, I put my entry here because it faked me out. There was a lot of action, price action up here, but then it finally flushed down. The problem with this trade that I took, I already knew this isn't a higher low. The higher low would actually maybe be here, but I jumped the gun, and as a result, I got punished. So I knew, okay, I'm not in tune. I wasn't trading for the last 4 days. I just need to be very careful. When I took this loss, I just kind of took a step back, kind of reassess what's going on, looking at how many candles printed and the time it printed. I knew it was kind of a slow day. Also looking at the volume. So I just was a little more cautious. And as a result, the rest of the day I didn't take any more trades. Prices then continue moving down. I thought it fit inside this yellow channel, but then it started breaking up on this red channel. I saw this new low here. say first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here, but this isn't a very good signal bar. Saw this is a new high, first entry long, pullback. Now I thought this was a possible trade. It's about to create a second entry long. You don't know yet, but here, this is a pretty good second entry long, but you'd have to wait to see what this candle does. Certainly I would have taken it on the engulfing, maybe one tick above. It's a good signal bar. Break of this red channel, first attempt up, second attempt up, but fortunately, if you waited for this candle to close, the trade would have already been made. So you would have to have been a little aggressive on this and taken it on the engulfing, like one tick above here. Price then continue moving up. You do have a higher low here. So it's like a first entry short, excuse me, first entry long, second entry long. And from down here, you have a first entry short, second entry short, second entry short failure. So actually, this is kind of like a second entry short failure on top of the second entry long. So I'm just going to go relabel it. Failed second entry short. Makes this trade even better. And a higher low here, but it's already too far up and too removed. It already met the high of this red channel. Prices then continue moving up in this green channel, starts breaking through, consolidates. You have a second entry long here, but I don't like this candle. It's a new high. First entry long, second entry long. It is bouncing off the EMA. It feels a little congested here because this is what you're seeing in real time. There is just enough room for a quick scalp, but just barely, because if you took it right here at 49.2250, your 1 point scalp would be 49.2350, which would meet the high here. So if this candle was just a little bit higher, it would ensure you have a little bit more room before potential resistance. Prices continue moving. I drew this as a potential trend line first, but I wasn't sure if there was a bottom trend line. Prices then continue. You have first entry long, second entry long, technically a third entry long. I also saw this new high, first entry long, potential second entry long. The second entry long, like a bounce off the potential bottom of this range, which is a little iffy. It's more of a support, not quite a range yet. And when I drew this purple line, I drew this purple trend line down here to try to make it a channel. So this is actually a third confirmation, but I didn't have that good a feeling about it yet. It's a decent signal bar. It just came from a really strong push down, so now it's trying to fight its way back. And even though the EMA is kind of flattening, I wasn't sure if it was still in play yet because this range isn't fully defined yet. So I had to skip this. Prices then continue moving up. It kind of confirms the top of the range here, but then it breaks out. So this range isn't very strong in my opinion. It's a little weak. Continues moving up. The first entry long, that's what only thing you get. It's a new high here. First entry long, and it keeps moving up. So you had to just sit through this entire mess. And it's kind of getting late in the day, but I did see this as a new high, first entry long, pullback. Now I thought this is probably the only other decent trade because this one had two key entry points, but this is a signal bar and it was a little iffy. And since it moved so fast, I think this trade, unless you're super aggressive back here, you would have missed out on it. This one I felt a little bit more better about, but I wasn't sure. Well, actually, it wasn't that I wasn't sure. I was kind of not quite on top of it. And I saw this a little bit later. I saw this as first entry long, pullback, second entry long. I like that this candle ticked one tick below here. The signal bar. Signal bar is terrible, but in context wise, it moved one tick down and engulfed the entire move all the way back up, and it closed near the high. So it has two things going for it. It break of this green channel, first attempt up. This could be the start of second attempt. It didn't touch the EMA, but it could be close enough. And it's a very strong trigger bar. So this might have been a good enough trade to take. Plus you have enough room before you hit the top. Looked like if you did enter, you'd have to sweat it through for a few minutes. One of the reasons I also didn't take it was after watching this very slow price action, I wasn't on top of my game anymore. So although this formed, and I probably saw it right after maybe this candle formed, then I thought, oh, there's a trade here. And unfortunately, I wasn't in tune. So this would have been a decent trade, probably the only decent trade of the day, other than this one that you have to be a little more ambitious and aggressive on. Create a new high here, first entry long. So it created a second entry long here, and I did see this, and I was thinking it's a small bullish bar. It's not the best signal bar because it's pretty close to neutral. It's so small, but it might be worth a trade. It's a little congested. It's getting close to the highs. It is showing a bullish bias. But I just decided this is pretty late in the day. I already took a loss here, and all this previous price action wasn't really providing that many opportunities. So I figured today might just be, end the day on that one red loss and just call it a day. So here you could also see it as a new low, first entry short, second entry short potential failure, and a second entry long. So if you saw that, you might have taken it and it would have worked. And it kind of moves up into the close. And here it just kind of gets really, really tight price action, no real good setups, and it just breaks through below the EMA, falls into this orange channel, and then here it just kind of falls into the last 10 minutes, and just like it was just kind of a very really slow, really crawling day all the way to the close. So it was a pretty slow day. I anticipate tomorrow could also be very slow, but then Wednesday it could get very volatile because there's a few pieces of economic data, one of which the most important is the FOMC rate decision. Now everybody believes that they're not going to increase the interest rates, but they could still surprise us. However, whether they increase it or not, it sounds like it'll just be, I guess, make a lot of traders feel confident that things are more safe or whatnot. So it still could see a lot of volatility. On top of that, there's going to be a lot of other tech companies releasing their earnings. So hopefully that was helpful.